So here we go, after years of waiting for Asics to make a super shoe in my UK size 13, the time has come. This is my first run video of the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. So welcome back to another first run video. As I said, the first time I have ever tested an Asics super shoe. And it's been worth the wait, really excited to get my hands on a pair of these. And finally, I got a decent marathon session done in it, which of course we'll cover shortly. I'll be going through how I tested them, give you guys the technical overview, and then of course give you my first run thoughts on this shoe. Plenty more testing to come though. There'll probably be an extra channel video, which of course there's always a link in the description for, and maybe a race this weekend or next weekend, depending on which shoe I choose. So just before we get into today, quick disclaimer, this is a pair of shoes that I purchased with my own money. Nobody has sent me this shoe. I used a 15% discount that was provided by Sports Shoes for being an England Athletics member, so I got it for just over £200. So without further ado, let's get straight into this and I'll tell you how I've tested this shoe. So straight out of the box, I took this thing on a 22.5 mile run. It really got a baptism of fire. The whole goal for me purchasing this shoe was basically to see if it could be an upcoming marathon shoe. I've got a marathon in less than 6 weeks now. And although I was pretty much set on my Adios Pro 3, curiosity got the better of me. The thing is, when this shoe came out, I knew at some point I had to test it. I've moaned about Asics not producing super shoes in my size for so long, it would just be terrible if they released something and I never bothered. So I wanted to see how it fared, and to be quite honest with you, it held up brilliantly over the 22.5 miles. I will be honest with you, I'm not 100% sold on the shoe just yet, and I'll share those thoughts shortly. However, the goal for testing was 60 minutes nice and steady, 60 minutes a marathon effort, and then wrap it up with 25 to 30 minutes steady or whatever I could manage. It ended up being 25 minutes and it really was whatever I could manage, which is pretty much an easy shuffle. Overall though, things are really good in the shoe, and the most important thing out of all of it, regardless of how it performed, was I had no aches and pains. Everything felt great, and the fact that I was in the shoe for 2 hours 25 minutes straight out of the box was a really good sign. And so before we dive deeper into my thoughts, let's go through a quick technical overview. I went true to size in this shoe, which is a UK size 13. In my UK size 13, it comes in at a featherweight 217 grams or 1 ounce, which means it's about 20 grams lighter than the Puma, roughly 20 grams. It's lighter than my Adios 9. The only shoe that I've got lighter in my rotation at the moment is the Streakfly version 2. And as I'm sure a lot of you know, this is a Sky version, so that means we've got a 5mm heel to toe drop. We've got 39.5mm of stack in the heel and 34.5 in the forefoot. And let's work our way from the heel counter, talk about the ankle collar, the tongue, the lace in the upper, the midsole, and then finish with the outsole. Now, when I was having a look at the technical specification on Asics website, there's a whole list of things that they're trying to market us to with this shoe that they've done. The reality is it's a super simple shoe. They're using motion wrap upper. I'll give you the basic breakdown. That runs all the way around the shoe. It's a little bit thicker at the back and a little bit thicker at the front. The rest of it is very, very breathable indeed, as expected by the fact that it is so lightweight. Lovely bit of cushioning at the back here. The fact that it is light but they can still add a touch like this is brilliant, because it does allow for good comfort, and when you're on those longer distances you do need things like that. The ankle cut there is nice, sits lovely under the ankle bone, no rubbing, very smooth feeling. Moving on to the tongue, it's not gusseted but it does have an attachment at the top here, a little tab where the laces feed through, so it does not slip left to right. And I will say, loving the laces, lovely bitey laces, bit of grip on them. When you tighten them up, they don't come loose. That's what we want to see in a racing shoe. It was actually my one complaint in the Puma Farstar when I noticed they put those soft spongy laces in, until I really checked the box and found they had some bitey laces that they put into that as well. I just haven't been bothered to relace that shoe yet, but these are kind of essential when it comes to racing shoes in my opinion, and I appreciate the fact that Asics have done that. And it's a very simplistic lacing system, nothing fancy whatsoever. So this whole back section here is absolutely fine, as you'd expect, very lightweight, nothing structurally there at all in this shoe. Bit of comfort at the back here, but realistically very lightweight, very sleek, and it really does hug the foot nicely. Good room in the shoe as well at the toe box. I still have a thumb width at the end, which is great. Now I know for a lot of people, they often half size down in the Nova Blast or sometimes size fully down. I don't. I stick with the thumb width, and I have still got a thumb width in this shoe as well, despite the fact it feels lovely and wrapped and tight across the top. And again, they've done a great job on the upper here. I do have nice room to spread my toes at the end. Moving on to the midsole, this is broken down into 3 sections. We've got FF Turbo at the top, which on the Sky is this small layer at the top here. Then we've got the carbon plate in between there, and then we've got FF Leap, which is their new foam and can be seen fully in the Metaspeed Ray. That one is not in my size, so I cannot test that shoe at the moment, but I would be very curious to do so at some point if they ever released my size. So the new TPU based midsole is what we're finding at the bottom here. It's what's new to the Asics lineup, and then we've got the PIBA based midsole along the top here. Both of course really good compounds to use in a racing shoe, but we do know that TPU tends to last a bit longer. So I'm hoping, considering the fact that I've spent a lot of money on this shoe, it's going to last me a long time. Even after its racing life, hopefully be able to get some good mileage out of it in training, like I am with the Puma DV8 Nitro Elite 3. Moving on to the outsole, you've got Asics grip on the bottom here, very minimally, pretty much in the forefoot here, and then it just runs down here, but this is all exposed midsole. What's going to be really interesting over time is how much this chews up. Obviously, it's just discoloured at the moment. It's only one run, 22.5 miles. I'm interested to see if it's going to get chewed up at all. I'm seeing a bit of wear here already and a little bit down the side here, but it's very minimal, and I think it's just aesthetic at the moment. It's not going to have any performance impact whatsoever. We know that. I'm just hoping it doesn't chew up too much as I start to log the miles in this shoe. And quite honestly, if I do choose this to be my marathon shoe, then by the time I get to the marathon, I might end up having 50 or 60 miles in it already. And so I think we covered everything. That is it for the tech. So with all that out of the way, how did I find the shoe? Well, I've got a bit of an honest tale to tell you first. I was actually hunting for the new Mega Blast, and I noticed in the morning when it was released it had a size 13 available on sportshoes.com, and I nearly purchased it, but I was out, so I thought I'll wait till I get home. And I got home and the 13 had sold out, and I couldn't get the 13 on the Asics site. That was also there in the morning, but that had also sold out. So they obviously produced my size in that shoe, and again with the sports shoes discount, that one actually came down to around about 170 something pounds, which is a bit more bearable. So I was pretty much going to get that shoe. However, when I couldn't find it in my size anywhere else, and I've been sitting on this one for so long thinking, shall I, shan't I, that was kind of the kick up the backside for me to go, do you know what, let's just get this shoe, get it in for testing. There's no harm at all. It'll be a little treat before marathon to see how it feels, and if it does do well, you can use it for the marathon, and if not, nothing lost, because you're going to use the Pro 3 anyway. And ultimately, I was really impressed with this shoe. Not fully sold on it, and again, we'll go into that detail very shortly, but I was really impressed. 22.5 miles straight out the box is no joke. Putting it through its paces like that, this is probably right now, if I'm honest with you, my second or third best racer in my lineup. And I would now say that when I go to a race, I'm going to have a bit of a headache choosing between this one and the Pumas. What I was really impressed with in this shoe was the upper itself. Just the fit of the shoe was super comfortable. As I said, I don't think, other than the Pumas, I've been in a racing shoe, and I'm talking specifically here about the DV8 Nitro Elite 3 here, not necessarily the Fast R, but both of them are great in the upper fit, but I don't think I've felt such a good, comfortable racing upper as I have in this shoe. It was super comfortable, and literally when I slipped them off at the end, no aches, no pains, really good, and that's what you want in a long distance racer, so that was great. The one thing that I just was not sure of was that I didn't find it gave me quite as much pop as the Pumas. That's really interesting, because instantly when I raced in the DV8 Nitro Elite 3 earlier in the year and basically used that shoe exclusively, I was meant to rotate it with other shoes, other races that I had, and I didn't end up swapping it out because it was so good. The one thing I noticed was just that extra bounce that I got back from the shoe. This one, I didn't quite feel it. I haven't decided whether it's because I only got it to marathon pace, and of course in the DV8 Nitro Elite 3, I was racing shorter distances, so I was going a little bit quicker. That's why there's going to be more testing to come in this shoe. I really want to be able to pick up the pace in it, get down to 5k effort, and see how it feels. See if it is quite as poppy as this one. I feel like what this one does is protect you over the long distance. It gives you good rebound. It's not too soft, which is exactly what I want. I do not want a mushy midsole. This is spectacular in that regard, but I would love to see if I put a little bit more into it, if it gave me a little bit more back. And I honestly think that's where Puma has just got the edge on this shoe. I can't say that this one is my favorite, being completely honest. I think it's a brilliant shoe, really exciting, delighted to have it in my rotation. It will get races. I've got one this weekend, one the weekend after. It's going to get one of those, and I can't wait to lace it up and see how it does at a faster, more intense effort. But yeah, I think from when I slipped the Pumas on and tested those compared to this one, that foam does have a little bit more about it than this. However, with that one downside out of the way, and it's not even really a downside, delighted, honestly, really happy. Two brilliant racing shoes in my lineup now, because the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 has nearly got 200 miles in it. I've been using it a little bit during marathon training, so that's still feeling really good, but I'm not going to race in it anymore. I've got this one and the Farstar Nitro Elite 3, and realistically, I'm not going to be taking that Farstar past a half marathon just because of what it does to my calves. This one is much more durable for the longer distance, and so that's why I'm thinking it could well be a marathon shoe contender. But again, the honest truth is I don't know how much extra it gave me compared to the Pro 3. What I noticed was the weight difference, and that's great. Again, psychologically, that's going to play a huge factor on race day, so that's definitely going to swing the pendulum in this shoe's favour. But I still find the Pro 3 to be a really decent shoe. It gives me enough back to feel really good, and it just feels overall really comfortable. What this one again has the advantage of is a much better upper than the Pro 3. So I'll stop comparing this shoe to the other races in my lineup. I've got to say, brilliant shoe, very happy, delighted they're finally making racing shoes in my size. It was well worth the wait, and I'm really happy to give this thing a race test very soon. And as I mentioned, plenty more testing to come. I'll get some faster workouts done in it over the coming weeks. I've got a couple more marathon simulation workouts to do, so I'll make a decision at that point whether I choose this one to be the racing shoe, and I'll let you guys know as soon as I make that decision. And other than that, it's really made me want to test the Edge now to see what the difference is, but I'm probably not going to bother. I'll stick with the Sky, and hopefully at some point they might release the Ray in my size as well. So that's it for the first run video on the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. Very delighted. Probably a marathon shoe, not quite as good as a Puma. I think that's a good summary of it. If you enjoyed this video, guys, I'll make sure I leave a link to the Puma video up here. You can see how I feel about that one after I used it in a local 10K. That was absolutely spectacular. Or if you want to see a bit of a super shoe comparison, I'll leave a link to one of those down here, and I'll see you guys over on one of those.